And we are live for another Q&A session on Oak and Rock Fatherhood. I am your host, Zach Small. I am joined by Anthony Miglarino. Anthony, what's going on, man?
What's happening, Zach? Excited to be here tonight. And as always, another great conversation. I look forward to it.
With that, if you are in the chat or you're watching this and you have a question or something you want addressed, throw it out there. We'll throw it in the screen. We'll break it down. You can shoot us a DM on our social media. We'll address it there too. That way we don't throw your name out there if you're trying to keep it anon or whatnot. But today we're going to be talking about being intentional with fatherhood. Recognizing that as a dad, there's certain things you can do that can change your entire community just by showing up. So to be a dad, you have to have a kid. To have a kid, you have to have sex. That's it. That could literally be it. That's all that it takes. But what if you want to do more? And that's the topic I wanted to break down today and sort of just get the discussion going on. What if you want to be a dad who wants to do more? You're seeing it everywhere. That whole dads on duty thing, that was a really cool example. And I know there have been others, but to see those dads roll in there and totally change the atmosphere inside that school, that's just like the tip of the iceberg as to what dads can do in their community.
Yeah. No, it's great to see a community that actually cares about their kids. That the fathers went there on their own time. Nobody forced them to do it. Nobody paid them. They just went there and they said, hey, we want to make a change. We want to make a difference. There was fights breaking out. The school was a little bit chaotic. And isn't it amazing that when dads show up, they just bring peace and stability? I think that's the hard-hitting point right there. People need to understand that.
Well, it's the whole presents thing. We talk about dads having presents and not just giving gifts, the presents under the tree. Dude, dads, if you show up, it makes a difference. I recently shared, here's a great example of this happening in recent times, as in this past week. In FOE, I think I had put it publicly. I put a blast out and I said, hey, if you're running practice and you're the head coach of your kids' youth sports, whatever, and you're doing your thing, and you see dads that show up and they're there and they look like they want to help, but they haven't been called out, just go over and bring them on the field. Hey, man, I need a hand. Could you come help me? What that does is it pulls the father out of his little comfort zone of wanting to watch his kid and gets him involved. You gave him permission. Hey, man, there's nothing wrong. I want you here to help. And then when you're there, the man gets to engage with his kid. He gets to be an example, whatever. And on the ride home, that father and his child are going to have so much to talk about because the kid's going to be like, Dad, you were out there teaching us how to do this and that. And hey, Mom, look at what Dad did. We had to do it in FOE share how he did that. He went there, he brought the guy on, and then after practice, him and the guy, the FOE man and the guy that he brought on the field, they were talking about, what the guy's going through and some things that are going on there. And he's like, it was really cool, man. He's like, to bring him out there and have that conversation, that was awesome. Imagine if we started pulling dudes into just day-to-day life. Hey, Dad, come get involved in school. We need somebody to walk around just to make sure, we're keeping the peace because tensions are high and kids are like beating the crap out of each other. All right. Imagine you have 10 dads doing that. Imagine those 10 dads, they're on that whatever week they have together. And now they've got a little tribe going there. And then another group of 10 dads, they got the next week. You guys are all alternating. Imagine having a dad who is sitting on the sidelines with no friends or hobbies or any sense of purpose to finding himself being used and having a sense of service in his life. That's a world we could live in if dads chose to show the fuck up. And instead of sitting on the sidelines, we're more intentional with the presence they were giving, not just their kids, but their community. I don't see why we can't do it, man. I don't see why we can't make that shit mainstream.
No, I think we're doing it. We're bringing the conversation. I wonder why dads, they don't believe in themselves. Why they think that they can't do this. Why is it missing? Where did it go? How come we're not talking about it more? How come more people aren't seeing how important it is to have fathers present, to have fathers active in their child's lives? Why isn't this one of the main things we're focusing on in a society? You see, everything that we've been through in the last 2 years with the pandemic, and you can read statistics about abuse. Child abuse is increasing, depression, anxiety, addiction. And I feel like if the conversations or the focus was more on where are the dads, what are they doing, let's get them involved, that would be a clear sign that we can start fixing some of these problems. I mean, those gentlemen just showed it in the school in Louisiana. 40 men. They took charge. They helped out. And they weren't going in there screaming and barking orders. They went in there and they were bringing peace and stability, and they were encouraging kids, giving them words of affirmation. They were being really supportive, from everything that I've read and videos that I've seen. So it's not like they were going in there with a heavy hand demanding compliance. They were going in there and saying, "Hey, listen, kids, we care, right? We want what's best for you guys. We want to help out." And to me, that's powerful, and that's doesn't get more powerful than that.
Well, that's the whole point of it, isn't it? When I say like, hey, if you're going to coach your kids, like treat it like professional sports. Like when I coach, I mean, we have bracelets, we have a flag, we have a chant, we have songs, music. Dude, we go bananas. And it was baseball, now it's football. I gave them everything because, hey, that's what they deserve. And when you do that and other parents see it, they get on board. And all of a sudden, well, just going and checking the box of sitting at baseball or whatever turns into a thing. You bring it to the next level. Like, hey, man, this is awesome. I'm wearing my shirt. It's going to match you. We're going to try to get the wave in the stands. It's going to be so cool. These kids are like, yeah, like this is awesome. Everybody's coming together. Dads can do that. That is something. It just takes like 3 dads, man. You get the one dad out there. All right, I get it. You're by yourself. I've been that dad by myself. But you bring on another. And then when there's 3 or more, you are a made man. Because now it's cool to do whatever it is that you're doing. And 2 other things are happening. One, you've changed the expectation. I've seen a lot of coaches stand there, their hand in their pocket on their phone while the kids are running around the field, and that's the coach, right? Negative. Now everybody else is like, yo, how come that team, they've got a whistle, they've got cones, they're running all these drills. This dude's sitting here showing YouTube videos about how to swing in slow motion. Like, how come I'm not getting that? And the other coach is like, oh, fuck. Now I've got to get my hand out of my pocket. I've got to go because I'm getting shown up by these dudes. So that's one of the things. The other one,
how come
is that
Coach Zac is so hyper?
Oh, man, you have no idea. The other angle on this is that when you get them out there and you're showing these kids like, hey, this is what it's all about, and we're going to put this effort in, and we're going to, we're going to lead them to higher levels, and we're going to be the men to show through example. These moms, these aunts, these grandparents are going to be looking at the dad sitting on his ass on the sideline and be like, hey, bro, why is that dude being a better father to your kid than you? And so then you're going to get shamed to being a better person. You're like, fuck, all right, I'll go play catch with them. I'll step up and start doing a little bit more. So then all of a sudden the dads who are kind of on the fence, they sort of get pushed into the middle. Hey, man, now we've got 10 dads out here doing this thing. Or like you said, there's 40. That probably started with 5. And those 5 were like, hey, if we're going, you're coming with us. Now you're at 25. And now I was like, oh, shit, I don't want to be left out. I want to be the one dad who didn't show up to the school when everybody else did. So again, you kind of shame these other dads in a healthy manner to perform. I don't see anything wrong with that at all. And I honestly think that if we could get a few dads, you're sitting, all right, I listened to this YouTube video. You know what? I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to show up to the school to help out wherever. If you grab a friend with you and that friend grabs a friend, and you get that 3, that'll be 10 before you know it. And that 10 will be 40.
Yeah. Motivation. That's what they need. That's what kids need. And I guess that's what dads need nowadays. But you know what it's like. You've been talking fatherhood a long time, so have I. And a lot of men, they don't want to hear it, or they don't want to understand it, right? There's so much focus on other things in a man's life, how to be masculine and how to make more money. I think what we're seeing is a shift in that. We're seeing the consciousness of men, of fathers, shifting, and they're saying, hey, we really need to focus on this. It needs more attention, right? Our kids are suffering, our families are suffering. So we need to do something to bring it to the light. And again, it's 40 guys getting together, making change in the world. It's to me, it's crazy. And you know what? We speak to men all the time. I speak to fathers often about peaceful parenting and raising their kids better. And on stories like this, I know it excites you and it makes you feel good because there's so many bad stories that you read so often about kids being neglected and abused. But in my personal life, when I speak to another dad, when I have a younger dad and I'm talking to him about becoming a better parent, and a week or 2 goes by and he starts sharing with me like, hey, listen, I don't yell at my kids anymore and they're listening better. I stopped hitting them and we get along great now, right? They actually listen when I talk and I listen to them. We're able to sit down at dinner. We can communicate and that warms my heart, man. It really does. It's that's just a small piece of what I see in my life. And now to see things like this take center stage and be on the news again, it's super powerful, man. It's awesome to see. It really is.
And it goes back to that point that we both make quite a bit, is that you can't blame the kids these days. And what's interesting, and I'm not even going to go down that. I'm not going to bang that drum right now, man. I'm not. But what's interesting is that when these dads are patrolling the halls, you get to know the kids. You get to see them. And those kids that were sitting there and they were the ones getting into the fight. And now they're the ones who, all right, I'm not going to fight today. And then you walk by, they're like, hey, I just got an A in that class. Look at you. Look at how you just changed that around. I see these kids in my football team, insecure, going out there. They're not really comfortable getting to know people. My own son, he didn't know anybody. We literally, I was assigned the head coach the day we showed up, like hours after we had our first meal here. I met the coach. He's like, hey, we need somebody. I'm like, yo, I'm in.
Get to work.
Yeah, like that's how that happened. But it was cool because now I see him jumping with the boys. They're all friends. They're all rubbing on each other. They're more confident. They're more focused and disciplined. And you see them and you're like, man, like, how could I ever be one of those dads talking about the kids these days when I see the kids these days at the grassroots level, literally busting their butts to be better men? How could I have that negativity that plagues so many fathers who want to sit and complain? You can't complain. So these dads at the school that are breaking these fights up and that are just showing that presence and being involved, I think they're going to get that same satisfaction. They're going to see these kids and be like, look at you grow. And these kids are going to see that man and be like, look at you putting that time. You're still showing up, Mr. Smith. You're still, like, you keep doing this. It's thank you so much. And it's, for some, it's the dad they didn't have, the dad they needed. And for others, it's the segue for their dad to become the man they needed him to be. Like, their dad was always there, but it wasn't until he got involved with these other men, he started doing more in the community, that he became the dad that child needed. Because then that dad comes home motivated, pumped up, in a better mood, instead of just kind of there existing apathetically.
It is, man. The positive influence can change lives. But to go back what you said about the straight A student, I think it's somewhere along the lines of, if you have a positive father in the home, there's a 50% increase in getting a student who gets A's. I'm pretty sure on a statistic. It's something like that. I just wanted to bring it up because it shows just having a positive father in the home, how influential that is, right? How much growth that'll bring to a child, just for being there and being positive and enjoying, not only enjoying your child's life, but enjoying the family life, being proud of what you're building. And you said that there are kids who don't have fathers in the home. Right? There's kids who have fathers, but they're not there either.
Yeah, absent fathers they see daily.
Yeah, so it's like a chain reaction, right? If you can get the dads who are there who aren't too involved, and get them to start talking with their kids, start being involved. I see it. I actually see it every day. I see real life examples inside of the Fraternity of Excellence. I see guys sharing in the family channel what they do every day, and I'm amazed. I'm retired and I don't know how they have so much time to do what they do. So I definitely, appreciate those guys sharing their wins. Obviously we discuss any issues or problems, that's what we do. We help each other out. And I think that's, once we start seeing more of that, it'll have that ripple effect. Once we start seeing fathers sharing stories with other fathers, sharing our wins, sharing our losses, it will definitely open up that conversation more and more. I mean, it's why we do these talks. It's why we put ourselves out there and we say, hey, this is important. We believe in this, right? We want to get other fathers involved, and we want to help raise healthier kids. We want to build, I'm going to say build back better.
Oh my God. I don't think that's working out too well, man. I'm not going to lie.
It's not. No, but we do, right? We want to build strength and stability, a strong family unit. And, the only way to do that, not the only way, but one of the best ways to do that is to make sure fathers are not only connected to their kids, but connected with each other, right? We need masculine positive influence in our lives.
You know, this I was coming across, I was looking for different outlets and things. And we're like, well, where are the fathers? Where are the fathers? And I found fatherhood.org. And you see things like this. You see the protectors, you see how can we better connect with our kids, the things that we can do. And as you scroll through, you had said something to me. So I see that the National Fatherhood, Initiative, all the fatherhood programs, the things they can do, the resources they have. One thing stood out to me, and that was when you were saying how many shelters there were for women, and I believe it was domestic abuse we were referring to.
Domestic abuse, yep.
And how few there were for men. And I'm like, well, I had to like go and find this stuff for fatherhood. So it started with the dads on duty, but I really had to dig and like, where are these programs and how do you think a man would feel? I don't think any man's going to go out there and be like, oh, I want to be a better father, so I'm going to go to this website and volunteer or follow this program. Like, that's not what men are going to do. But the fact that men don't have an immediate, like they immediately know I can go here and get help. You see the pamphlets everywhere for women. You see all these things for like women that are just all the resources you could think of, from their health, their mental well-being, connecting with other women, women-only groups, all these things. You don't see men's-only groups. I had to build the Fraternity of Excellence I had to rebuild my own group because I couldn't find something after the military. So I was like, well, fuck it, I'll do it myself.
Hell yeah.
And it was boring, and it's rocking, man, and it's cool. But I should have had to. I should have been able to walk off that and go right into something. Young men aren't joining the American Legion or VFW because it's like, well, what do we do? Like, what are these guys doing together? We're local, but we don't have a mission, a real mission. And there are some men pushing against it. I am a part of a VFW chapter, but it's not filled with young men who are motivated and ready to rock the way FOE is. So when they look at this, or when you look at this, how do you see us being able to better tap into these dads who want to serve the community? They want to get involved. Like, what advice do you have for those guys who are like, I don't even know where to start, man?
What, younger men or fathers?
I'd say younger fathers.
Younger fathers. I think that you have to get past this stigma or this false narrative that most men think nobody cares. And I think that causes isolation. So if you're a young father or a young man and you're trying to obviously improve, it's tough to do alone. And a lot of times we get stuck in that. And we think, obviously you search online and there'll be a million resources for women and one for fathers. So I think once we can get past that and stories like this are promoted more and men understand that, hey, man, there's other men going through the struggle. There's other young fathers who don't know what the hell they're doing, but they're willing to throw a rope and help somebody. Because I know I was a young father and it was tough. Right? Nobody was talking about fatherhood. Everybody was like, go get a job and work hard. And I was like, but I have kids. What do I do with them? They're like, go get a job and work hard.
Forget them. Speaking of young fathers and motivated fathers, we got Phil C saying, good evening, gentlemen. What's going on, Phil? Great to see you.
What's up, Philip?
Glad you can tune in.
Philip stopping by this Sunday.
I know. I was talking to him about it. A little jealous that I got to get down there, man. We got to do one of these live. But listen, one thing I thought of, in that getting these men on board, and I know it's going to sound like cheesy as shit, but when you make it cool to be involved, dads will do it. Like, when you're like, yo, all dads are doing this. This is what dads do. Like, these dads are doing it. Why wouldn't you? Are you not man enough? You're like, oh, shit. Like when women say, oh, you're a real men do all the dishes and paint their wives' toes. No. But when you have another man saying, hey, real men will show up if there's violence in the school, they'll squash that shit. They'll be an example as to how to be a strong masculine man without having to prove it through swinging at the dude next to you. That's when we'll start seeing more men get involved. But you're absolutely correct. There's this whole debate on paternity leave for men, and should men be able to stay home to see the baby? And people are like, why? What did he go through? And I saw all these comments, dude, and I'm like, yo, we have normalized ripping the man out of the home so much that people don't even understand why a man should stay home with his newborn child. Like, literally, I think, like, fuck jobs. They're just jobs. Nobody should give everything to their job. Like, I don't even understand how this is a discussion. But even if you're to remove my personal, like, stance against identifying with your job, that man is half of that child, or vice versa. That child is half of that man. Like, he built that too. His wife carried it. She delivered. Like, physically, she did that. But now it's the man's first time to be there and connect That's when it really starts that bond with the father. You can talk to it in the womb. You can sing those songs. You can put your head on it, feel it kick you. But it's not until you hold it. It's not until those little moments where it's puking on you or walking around. So that's when you start to really see like, hey, this is my kid and how I'm going to connect with it. So in those areas, it concerns me like to a pretty good degree, actually, how little
Yeah.
people care about men being there. But if we could get other men to say, nah, we're done with that narrative. What we're going to do is we're going to make it cool for dads to stay home. We're going to make it, that's the popular thing. Let's bring dads into the school. Like let's make dad's presence in the family and in the school a more popular thing. And dads will be like, fuck yeah. Hey, I'm taking the day off. Sorry, work. I got to go walk around my kid's school just to flex at kids.
Well, that's what those fathers did. They took shifts, right? They were there in the morning. I think they came at lunch and then at the end of the day. And since there was 40 of them, they were all just rotating in between work, which is awesome. But getting back to what you were saying about paternity leave and maternity leave, I really think women go back to work way too quick.
No, I completely agree.
I think the one, and this is a little bit off course, but when the state or the governments get involved, I think that's when things get misunderstood. I think families need to make choices. Employers, if you work for a company and you're a father and you say, hey, I'm having a child, being an employer myself, right? If one of my guys or my employees needed to take time off to go spend with their kids, I would push them out the door. Go. Your kid has a play today. Don't worry. We'll have the other guys will pick up the slack. I think when you allow the laws to dictate what happens, people follow blindly, right? They don't think about things, and then we just get conditioned to accept how it is. So I think it might not happen in this economy. Maybe in the future when crypto's more prevalent, but you will see time allocated for fathers to stay home with their kids. I think because men would want to make that decision, they starting to understand how important it is. And I don't know how we even, as a society, how we don't understand those first years of life with your child, how important that is for a father to be there and to be involved and to change diapers and to, do whatever you can to be a good dad. It's not a woman's job or a woman's duty. It's about being a father and connecting with your kids. And, it's sad to see that a lot of fathers, they shy away from that role, right? They think it's feminine or not important somehow. So I'm here to tell you it's not. It's masculine to take care of your baby.
I'll say, and this is to Jared's point. So big shout out to Jared. We actually were able to lock him in today for a later episode. We're going to be breaking it down.
Yes.
Jared has chased his PhD in psychology. We're going to talk about the mind of children, the growing mind, managing their emotions, the growth. I'm really looking forward to that one. So I don't want to share too much, but I want to give a little drip feed.
Wait till I break out the angry Jared on that episode.
Just let him riff, man. Then you just stand by and let it go. No, but to Jared's point, what I see most when it comes to resources, what's lacking is the male presence. If a young boy is getting into a fight or he's frustrated or he's being competitive or he's just lashing out, it's normally a female teacher who's coming in and telling him how wrong he is. Is normally he's going to be in a very female-dominated environment because oftentimes it's school. Oftentimes those are female teachers. And they're like, you can't hit. Not everything's a competition. You need to sit and play and use your words. You know what? They need a dad around. Oh, hey, man, I get it. You're frustrated. They're not listening. You know what? You just want to laugh. Let's do some sprints. You don't need to sit with your feelings right now. You need to burn some energy. You want to play. You want to climb. And they're saying, hey, sit in this little square because you need to be distanced from your friends. Negative. And then they can break it down. But that young man can see it. Hey, I'm going to grow up to be like you. I'm going to listen more to what you're saying because you've lived it. Now, that's not to say women can't give advice to kids. I mean, obviously, like my wife gives advice to my son, but she's never been a young man,
Yeah.
So it's different. When I speak to my son about lessons lived, that's different than lessons learned. And I think a lot of young men, they have no access. As soon as their dad goes to work early in the morning, they don't see a man, maybe the gym teacher. And sure, I'm being sexist there, but normally it's just the gym teacher, math and science. That's where most men, if they're teaching, are teaching at that level. and then they go home and they don't see a dad until he comes back tired. And he's too tired to have the conversations. Oftentimes he's too tired to deal with their bullshit. And I say bullshit to be trite, to deal with just the little things that are important to a kid. But the last thing a man who's exhausted from working at a factory or just swinging a hammer, doing whatever he's doing all day wants to hear. And so that kid never really gets that out of his system. He's like, shit, there's something wrong with me. I'm a broken girl. And that's not what our boys are. If we had more male presence in the school system at the younger ages, I think our younger boys wouldn't be having some of the struggles we're seeing in them. And that's a fact. That's not even an opinion. That's a fact.
There used to be, though. When I went to school, when I was younger, elementary school, I remember there were a lot of male teachers. See, my kids.
My gym teacher was it.
No, I remember even in elementary school before classes, just, the regular teachers, 5th grade teacher. With my kids, I rarely seen it. And I remember distinctly every year that any of my 3 children had a male teacher. They absolutely loved that class, right? He was the best teacher. He was the most passionate. He was the most involved. I'm not saying that men are better teachers than women, but they do need to come back in the education field. We need more men. We need more good men teaching our kids and helping out in those areas because we need a balance. It can't be all one-sided. And like you said, Zach, there's so many things that a positive male role model will bring to a child's life, especially those kids who don't have fathers. Now they have a teacher who's a man who can show them some masculine skills, can show them what it is to be a man and how they should behave and how they should act, how to control and regulate emotion. So there's so many different things to that, right? So many different benefits, but it's weird that you don't see it more. Definitely is.
But that's what this discussion is for. To start, why? And how can we fix that? How can we get it going? And then literally, if we were to look at this point in our history, things are so backwards that I don't know who's looking to get involved in any environment like the education system. So I'm not going to say it's too far gone. I will say there are a lot more men stepping up the homeschooling arena. I have seen that. And to Jared's point, real men take the kids rock climbing. There's a definite bias to his choice of activity there because that dude lives on the side of mountains, and I know his sons do too. So I agree. They really do, though. Men do take their kids out and they do things out there. I think I need to climb more mountains with him, though. But with that, when you look at the impact these men will have on these boys, and big shout out to Mark Fitzy. What's up, brother? Glad you could make it. These guys, I have this impact on these boys with youth sports. And I've always said that puts me in a position that's pretty unique in that I'm not their dad, but I can play and offer fatherly a role that gives them that input. It can give them some life lessons and things I've learned from that fatherly perspective down to a younger man. These men, these teachers stepping up, volunteering at schools, you can say things that might be taken a little better than if dad were to say it. And I saw it with my son in baseball. There were certain times where the guy I coached with could say something to my son and it would just come across better because there's that line between dad and coach. And it's like, if I say this as coach, that's going to bleed into dad and it's going to make dad look a little bad, but as coach, it needs to be said. So he would take over there and we had this nice flow together. If we were hanging out and you said something to my son, it would be taken differently. And he might be like, all right, I really got to listen because, this is dad's friend. This is a man of respect. I should be paying attention to what he's saying. Imagine the school system. Imagine a bunch of dudes rolling around and be like, oh man, these dudes are everywhere. And I'm learning, this guy is teaching us he used to be a cop and he's talking to us about these things. This guy used to be a scientist and they'd be so much more engaged because these men are rolling in wanting to teach. Rarely do you see a man roll in and he's just like passing the time. And if he is, what a waste of an opportunity. Because these young boys need it. They need the motivation. They need the fire that comes from being a man, and that's something that only men can offer. And multiple times we've corrected ourselves like, fuck, this isn't an angle. I'm like, hey, we're better than women. I'm not comparing you to women. I'm just saying we should be better than we are. I'm not trying to beat women. I'm trying to beat me. I'm trying to bring the best man onto that field for these boys. So it's not about men versus women. It's about men versus the current men. We need more of them. We need dads stepping up, patrolling these halls, brother.
Yeah, we were talking about this either today or Saturday. I don't know, with one of the Twitter spaces, and we were saying how these conversations we weren't having these 5 years ago, 10 years ago. This is all new. And all these guys who come on to the Twitter space, and we have these conversations about how to be a better dad, and they're in depth. They're about important things. We're learning different skills. We're sharing ideas. Um, I think there is a shift, right? There's a shift in reality, a shift in society, and people are starting to understand this. And it obviously the evidence is everywhere. I did on my speech at CME. I had a whole slide for the importance of fatherless homes, and how important it is to have a dad in the home. These are things that men need to hold other men accountable, needs attention. And the more we talk about it, and the more this topic comes up, the more improvement I see, right? In every man I speak to, any man about the
I mean,
subject.
even looking at even when you're looking at the chat, right now with Fitzy, like these are things that aren't theory between us two. Like this is real. This is what is happening in the world. Mark's talking about that nothing more satisfying than bonding than guiding his sons in their journey to manhood. Outdoors is the greatest classroom possible. Imagine a retreat of fathers and sons, or fathers and daughters, bringing their family, bringing their kids out there, other dads, kids with other kids, growing, learning, connecting, distraction free. How could you not come home a better, tighter family than when you left? And that can be done every single day. See how I played the retreat first? Oh, I have to go to an event. You can do it in your backyard. You agreed with me, but then when I put that little flip, some guys will be like, oh shit, got me. You can have your own retreat. You can have your own event. You can label it whatever you want. You can charge whatever you want. Tell your kids it's going to cost them $3 out of the piggy bank. But come on, we're going to go on a tour, guys. And you bring them out there and you have a great time. And you do something together. And you know what? Those dads that you could meet at the school if you showed up, you could meet at youth sports if you showed up, bring them too. Just like I said about bringing that guy into the fray, into the practice, and how all of a sudden you put that dad in a position where he can better connect. You too. If you were to say, hey, guys, I'm bringing my kids to the park to do this. Would you like to come with your kids? Bring them. Let's meet over here. Let's have the kids come together. Let's go out and do something. Let's stop worrying about COVID and stop staying away from everybody and living in fear and doing the bare minimum of watching Netflix and barely connecting as a family. Everybody's distracted. Let's get rid of all electronics. Let's get rid of all distractions. Let's grab a football, a soccer ball, a frisbee, or let's go climb a damn mountain. We're going to hang out with the McLeans, and then you just go out there and you do something as an activity. And then you have stories, you have memories, you bond, you struggle together. And that struggle brings you closer as a family. All it takes is a little bit of presence. That's it. Just a little bit of effort, a little bit of intentional living. You can do both in that one. Buy the football present and then go play catch with them with some presents. It's a win-win there.
Yeah, do you think that there's maybe some more focus or attention on this because of what happened with COVID and the lockdowns?
I see it both ways. I think, and again, this is where I truly believe there's a big split there. And we've talked about this, but the haves and the have-nots, I think that the gap widened. I think the haves realized family's a higher priority than they were giving it credit before. And now they're trying to kind of make up for the lost time and just get things on the right track. I think the have-nots have doubled down. I think there are some families that are far worse. I think some kids' mental states, being stuck with family. Now the parents are more stressed out. It wasn't good before, and now it's even worse. So I to answer the question, both. I think the good got great and the bad got worse.
Yeah. No, I think that's true. There's a lot of people who got confined and stuck with their kids indoors for a long time, who didn't like being around their kids prior to COVID, prior to the lockdowns. So now those kids are stuck with those parents. But that's the negative. The positive side of it, I think a lot of parents realize, and even dads, working from home, even losing their jobs, they realize how important and how disconnected they were. And I think spending some time with the family and being with them, it's something that we need, and we've gotten so far away, is that connection. So I think once you get a little taste of it, and you're usually going into the office every day, now you're back home, I don't think I know I wouldn't want to part with it, right? If I got to spend time with with my kids all the time and I didn't have to go to work for the 30 years that I did, I wouldn't think twice about it,
Well, think
right? If
about it. We broke the cycle of absence. COVID broke the normalization of not being around your kids. It stuck you at home with them. You had to be there. And for some, they're like, oh shit, I love my kid. Like, you guys are really cool, you know? And like you were saying, go back to work. Well, I don't really know if I want to be gone all the time again. You know, I might need a job that allows a hybrid. I work from home and I go there, so I'm home some of the days. Or I need a new job. You know, the money's not worth the loss. And Mark, Fitzy asked a question, you know, for the viewers who are super busy. What's more important, quantity or quality of time? Now, I'm not going to be a politician, so I'm going to choose one and I'm going to pick it. But Anthony, which one would you pick?
the same answer for any time that question comes up, brother. Quality,
100%.
always quality.
Always quality. This goes back to the absent father they see daily.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean it goes back to everything, right? It's you can spend as much time as you want with your kid, but it does need to have some purpose and meaning. It has to have quality behind it. And I think those are great. That comes with a great lesson that you teach your kids on how to use their time, because life is busy, life is crazy. We're running around, we're doing a million things. Mom and dad are busy, but if your kid can see you being busy and taking care of things, but you stop and you take notice and you want to spend time with them, that to me that's a huge connection, right? That's more than a father who's sitting on a couch drinking beers, you know, screaming at his kids as they walk by. And he's like, "Oh, I've been here eight hours with you today. Aren't you having
I'm
fun?"
present. We have time together. I've been here. Well, no, man, you've not really been here at all. You know, and I love Jared. So he rolls in from the top rope. Do both. I like it. You know, but Mark has a great point. You know, he follows it up, you know, with, well, what about the dad that's working 70 hours a week, you know, 6 days? That doesn't prevent real bonding. I would say to that, I have found myself go like a month, you know, maybe two of real hyper focus on work, really kind of sitting in the studio way too much, really focused on this. But if you're going to have those 70 hours for 6 days a week, that can't be a full-time thing. If that's got to be like, if you know, hey, it's really crunch time for dad, this is his season, you know, he does most of his business in these 2 months. Those other 10 months had better be solid, you know, because then you've put in the reps and they know, no, my dad's going to come back. I'm a higher priority than work. This is just a really big crunch time for him. But if you're only going to see them 10 minutes a day, that had better be 100% 10 minutes without your phone, without the television, nothing but, hey, buddy, I cannot wait to hear, and let them know while I'm at work for all those hours, I'm thinking of you. I'm wondering what you're up to. And I'm going to set some goals for you. And you set some goals for me. And let's see. And when we meet up next time, we've only got 10 minutes to talk. What'd you hit? All right, here's what I hit. All right, what are we going to do next? And you really can still connect. You're like, all right, I've got to go back. And you see guys on oil rigs, guys who are truckers. You know, there are some guys in certain professions that it pulls them from the home. And on our last video, the one that just dropped about the military, that's why I left it. I had to, because it was just wearing me down and I couldn't. You can't outrun your work tempo. It tells you where to go. So for me, that led to a change in profession. You know, so that might be a decision a lot of men are making now that COVID's kind of done its thing and people are going back to work. You might have to change jobs because those kids are going to age and the time that you could have had with them is going to be gone. So it's make the best decision you can make and think long term on it.
Yeah, it's weird that you say that because I can't really relate to working and not seeing my kids, because now what happens is my kids work and I don't see them. I'm sitting home waiting for my kids to get off work. So it's completely opposite and it's weird. You know, and obviously they have to go out and they have to go get jobs and do what they can. But no, I mean, you said it, Zac. There are things, you know, that are important in life that need to be noticed, that need to take priority. And fatherhood is definitely one of them. Doesn't get enough attention. And we don't make it a priority. Spending time with your kids, simple. It's one of the easiest things to do. Learning how to be a better father, a better communicator, learning how to empathize with your children, learning how to discipline them, and learning how to remove punishments and violence in the home so you can have a better relationship. Ultimately that's the goal, and everything we're talking about is just more stepping stones into becoming a better father. um, and as always, man, I love I love being able to talk about and emphasize how important fathers are.
Dude,
I don't hear it. I
we
don't
come
hear
in
it
guns
often.
blazing, man. Like, and I love it because in our conversations, like these are how the conversations were happening before this whole thing happened. And this is why we're like, man, like we need to start recording this shit. Like, this is real stuff. Like, these are conversations that should be normalized. And to Alex, big shout out on the point that the silver lining for these tyrannical lockdowns is that it woke a lot of people up. Absolutely. They came rolling in. They're like, all right, we're going to shut it down and split them. And you're like, you know what? This actually worked out for me. And I'm not coming back. You just lost yourself a drone. A lot of choices. A lot of people made that choice and they're not going back. So it did wake up a lot. Unfortunately, I do think the gap widened to what Jared was saying. The haves have more. The have-nots have a lot less. And you can't overlook it because I'm Mr. Positivity. I'm focused on how can I overcome this, go over it, through it, around it, whatever. That's me. That doesn't mean I'm oblivious to there are a lot of kids that are stuck inside homes with monsters and they can't go anywhere because everything's locked down. And because we live in a society where it's normalized. We live in a society where if a kid ran to somebody and said, my dad spanked me, they're like, all right, go back home. No, really, like, and if that kid's scared, that kid's hurt, they're doing more than just the spank on the butt. There's actual abuse happening in homes and these kids have nowhere to go. And they want to go to school and then school is sitting there smashing them too. So they're getting hurt mentally, which still leaves bruises. You just can't see them. At home, they're scared. That's not a life lived. That's just terrible. And it's my hope that in these discussions we can start taking the stigma off peaceful parenting, taking the stigma away from connecting with your children and removing that fear that if somehow you're kind to them and you remove corporal punishment, it's not going to make them weak for the world. That's my hope. That's my drive. That's why we're doing what we're doing. But again, if we don't talk about it, if we don't face or at least recognize that evil exists and that dark is there, we'll never shine a light on it. We'll just keep overlooking it. And that's not me. I'd rather look at the monster and punch it in the face than try to let me just turn my other cheek. No, I'll hit it in the face of the book. Like, we'll come at it and, we'll just do what we have to do and expect a lot more conversations about stuff like that on this channel.
Yeah.
And to Fitzy, when you're talking about your kids working, I was immediately thinking of Cats in the Cradle and he put it in the chat. My kids, he's just like me. Dude, I hope my kid's like me. I'm the chillest dude I know.
How do you stay close to your kids as they grow older and become more independent? Usually bribes work good. That's my go-to.
Hey, kid, you want some Ethereum?
Tell me you love me. It's not as they grow and become independent. It's something that you start way prior to when they're little, right? That's how you build relationships. You get them while they're young, where their minds are impressionable. Because listen, kids believe everything, right? They believe Santa Claus until they're age 10 or 11. They believe anything you tell them. So when they are young, that's when you have to make the best impression, the best influence. As my kids get older, the closeness was just there. It was something that I've built in the last 15 years. So I don't know if I can answer that properly. I think if you had issues and problems, if there was abuse, neglect, anything like that, and now your kids are older and you want to work on getting closer, just do the work, right? Just get involved, learn as much as you can, and focus on building that relationship. Don't shy away from it. Don't be afraid of it. Just, one step at a time and keep making connection with your kids.
Yeah. I mean, when I look at, I'm starting to see it, my son's 12, my daughter's 9. So they're not older and independent. They're not driving, they don't have jobs, nothing like that. But the little things I'm seeing is my role is changing. It's not so much I need you for this as much as I did this and now I'd like to talk to you about it. Or will you come with me? It's no longer, hey, dad, I need you to do this. They're growing and my role is changing. So I've got to understand, where do I fit in their lives? Not where do they fit in mine? Like, what's my piece for them? How can I best serve them and with what it is they're doing and where they're going? And that takes a little, it's just learning. You're learning with them, and there's nothing wrong with that. You'll make mistakes from time to time. There's still times I'll go and do something for my kid and they wanted to do it, or they should have done it. And I'm like, oh man, I forgot you could do that now, So these little things is just, when you talk about closeness as they grow, that relationship, you won't have to go through the corrective measure of healing a broken bond if it doesn't break. So the preventative approach is absolutely the best approach. You stay close because the whole time you never grew apart. Growing up doesn't mean growing apart. In the physical sense, sure, they're going to go be away from you more, but the role, again, is not changing. They're going to be just as close to you, but now it's through more phone calls and text messages and seeing you later in the day, as opposed to being with you by your side, holding hands while you walk through the park.
Yeah. No, listen, there's few things that I care about in this world. I definitely walk around with a chip on my shoulder. I don't really care what people think about me, but my 3 kids, I care immensely what they think about me. I care if they like me, if they want to spend time with me. Those are the 3 people that I make sure I show my best to all the time.
Fitz says spanking equals weakness. I concur. Share it to the world. You're an adult. You're not a tough guy by hitting a little child. Jared, if you have a good relationship with your kids as they age, the relationship becomes more right and interesting. I like that. It becomes more interesting. I like how Alex called you out. Don't bribe Anthony, not even with crypto.
No, I was joking.
All right. Hey, here's a good one. Katrina Percantino. What would you advise parents to do after witnessing their sons being physically bullied by their peers? This is a really good question because there's context that goes into this. I'm looking at you smiling, so I'm assuming you know something I don't.
No, I don't. I'm waiting.
Okay, I thought you had like a spring-loaded answer.
I'm waiting for you to drop the hammer.
No, there's no hammer to be dropped. Look, the way I see it, if you're a parent and you see your kid getting jumped and punched in the face and kicked to the ribs on the ground, that's different than seeing your son be teased. Hey, look at you, like they slap a book off him or like slap a hat off his head. There's context to all this. And I don't know what the word bullied means anymore. Somebody had said that, no, they're bullying me because they stuck their tongue at him. Or my daughter told me somebody's bullying her because he stuck a tongue at her. I'm like, that's not it. So it depends on the context. But if you see kids like really messing with the kid, I would talk to him. Like, that's where everything starts. Hey, where are you at with this? Are you uncomfortable? Like, kind of just get a feel for it and let them know. My kids, there's absolutely zero repercussion to befall them if they're defending themselves or if they're defending somebody else that's being taken advantage of. And this is tricky because we're coming in here, we're the guys with the beards talking about being a man and raising your kids peacefully. Of course, we're going to say, go punch him in the face. That's not what I'm saying. I don't think it's cool to go and just start swinging around everything. At the same time, there are laws to this, even in the child.
I would never hit a kid. What are you talking about?
There's laws to the child kingdom. And one of those laws is that if you're walking around, with fear inside your soul, you are a target. And so then you peel it back. Well, why are you scared? Well, what is it about this? Are you not fitting in? And you just keep peeling it back and you find out some kids are just conflict averse and they're just going to be taken advantage of until they stand their ground. Now, what's the role of the parents in this? I've seen it backfire too many times to say, hey, parent, you should go talk to their parents. I've also seen that work. But, I'm not going to advise that. I'm going to tell my kid to handle it at his level. So if you're asking me, I will have my son and my daughter handle it at that level and say, if that dude messes with you again, you make him regret it. You send a signal, you give hey, stop. I don't appreciate you doing this. They do it again. All right, dude, let's go. And then they just have their little scrap and they just do their thing. And I don't know if that's the right answer there, but I'm telling you, that is my answer there.
Conflict resolution.
Sometimes,
I think it all depends on the situation. So as an adult, if you're in a position where somebody's bullying you, you can remove yourself from that position, right? Whether it's at work, in your home, wherever you are. With a child, again, it depends on where it's happening. If it's at school, or if it's on the playground, you always have that option to remove that child from the situation, remove your child. The one thing that I find that causes problems is when you have, let's say, two parents or two mothers, and they're friends and they bring their kids to hang out together, and one of those kids is being a bully to the other. I think you still have to stop bringing your child around that kid. This happened to one of my kids when they were little. um, my wife was friends with somebody. They would meet up, and the other child was, physically abusing my child. So I said, hey, listen, it needs to stop, right? Don't put him in that position. It needs to change. um, and at first, it took some time to make sense and us to figure it out. But I think you always have the opportunity to take your kid from a harmful situation. That's a big job that a parent has to do. Now, and I agree with you, what you said, Zach. If they are in a position, there might not be a time where dad isn't there. So then they definitely have to learn to stand up for themselves. Absolutely.
I think that catches people off guard because I just from interactions and discussions we've had previously on this, it's the default is like, yeah, going in, it's like prison rules. You just go swinging. Like, no, my kids are smart, man. You have to learn to navigate. You've got to learn to play as a team. And if somebody's causing a ruckus, you might be able to win that person over, like honey versus vinegar. You might be able to win the bully over and be like, hey, dude, I'm the wrong one. But what's really going on with you? And like Alex said, behavior is communication. The bully's likely being bullied. I've not met a bully who is not a pussy. I have not met a single bully who is not absolutely weak inside. And all I had to do is flick away that one card and they crumbled up and start crying like a bitch. And I not to be crass, man, but like that's a lot of these guys, they're operating off fear. They're operating off my dad's hurting me, so I'm hurting you. These people make fun of me, so I'm going to take it out on you. There's always something that they're hurting, and therefore they're lashing. I would say that's 99% of them. Some people are just assholes. They would just want to look cool in front of their other friends. Like that happens too. But at a young level, often it's just pain and frustration, embarrassment, and they take it out on somebody. And you teach your kid like, hey, I get that you're upset that, people make fun of you because your shoes are fucking dirty or because you stink or because you're fat. But I'm not the one, man. And look, we can get along just great. We can hang out. We can play with our toys, whatever. But if you touch me again, I'm going to punch you in the face. That's kind of how the conversation goes with my kids. And I've not had issues, and maybe my kids just get along, maybe it's just we've been fortunate with our environment thus far, but I tell them like, look, those kids are hurting too. And maybe you could be the one to help them. So I think my kids are probably just winning over the bullies by actually treating them like humans and not just the way other kids are treating them.
Yeah, I think it's always best to teach our kids to try to solve things without violence. I'd say that's always number one option. And there is a difference between abusing violence and inflicting violence and self-defense. So I think it's perfectly normal to teach your kids self-defense, to defend themselves when they are in trouble. But we want to make sure that we not only do we teach our kids how to throw a right hook, but we want to teach them how to talk their way out of complicated situations. Because there could be times in their future when they're older that they're in a really bad spot and fists aren't going to get them out of it. It's good to have that verbal weapon also to be able to talk your way out of difficult spots.
One of the things, and big shout out to Phil Foster, says keep it up. He's in there grinding with Phil Foster Fitness, bringing those guys to the next level. We actually jumped off of his chat to come on here. So Phil's been schooling Anthony and I up, getting us jacked and focused. So Phil, appreciate you hopping in. Get back to work. I will say, we talk a lot about the need for strength, and people think physical strength, but how often are we both stressing, we want our kids' minds to be strong too? And so right then, when you said the right hook, I thought you were going to say throw a rope. And it's funny because mentally you can so for those who don't know, throwing a rope to me means offering like a line of help. Like, hey man, I see you're struggling. How can I help you? That's me throwing you a rope because you're in a hole and you can climb out and I can help you out. So when people are trolling online or whatever, if they come on here, they're like, "Oh, peaceful parenting is for weak men." Hey man, what's really hurting you?
What?
'Cause
Come
that's
see
nothing
us.
more.
I'll give you
That's
my
not,
address.
yeah. Square up. Anthony's in an alley right now. Look at that background. He's gonna smash against the bricks. But that's just an adult bully, man. It's just an adult bully trying to flex. Like, dude, what's the real problem here? Well, my wife left me, or I got fired. All right, man, let's talk about it. You're gonna be okay. We'll figure the finances. And you just throw the rope. You keep squaring up though, and you keep getting crazy. Now you throw the right hook. I tried to help. You put me in a position to hurt, but we communicated, and to Katrina, communication is key. And being able to speak, having confidence, my children will look at you when they speak to you. There are a lot of kids. I read something right before we hopped on here where photographers were saying that they're having a much harder time getting kids to look at cameras and getting when they speak to them to say, hey, I'm going to look and speak to you like this. The kids keep doing this. They won't even look them in the eye because they're so uncomfortable with social interactions because they've been locked away for so long and their parents don't interact with them. And when they are interacting, they're looking at a screen. So this is how they talk to people now. It's insane. And I was like, holy shit. So if you can teach your children communication, how to read body language, how to properly speak from their chest, you're giving your kid such an advantage, not just, with a bully, but in life. So communication is an underdeveloped skill that we're seeing die out before our fucking eyes, man, because everybody's on screens and nobody knows how to sit across the table from somebody and be like, hey, what's up? How you feeling? What are you going through? You think I got real intimate there? I was looking at your soul.
No, man, communication is key. And before that even happens, I think you have to build up confidence in your kid. You have to build their self-esteem. A child who has good self-esteem is going to be able to communicate more properly, right? They're going to be able to express themselves. They're going to be able to say what they need and what they want and what their preferences are. So to me, that's part of the confidence element, the self-esteem. And that comes right from when they're born, right? If we have kids and we use those kids as a weapon, and what I mean by that is we use them to fulfill all the needs that we have, right? Oh, why won't my kid listen to me? I need you to go to bed at this time. If we can flip that and we can start seeing it as we are the parent, it's our responsibility, it's our job, we're the father. We have to provide for our kids. We have to cater to their needs. They're not here for us. And that's a great self-esteem boost for kids. That's building actual real self-esteem within. Because they're not always doing stuff for their parents, right? They don't exist. My kids don't exist to please me. I tell my kids this all the time, and I'm sure I mentioned on the podcast, but when I get older, I tell my kids, don't even worry about me. Throw me in a boat and float me out to sea. You guys keep living your life. I don't want you to focus on if I'm okay. I've lived my life. I'm good. I want them to always go forward and always look to improve their lives. And that's what that's my job as a father. I want to do that until I die.
I think that's a solid goal. It's funny. A very similar conversation, me and the kids. I'm like, look, you guys do you. Like that is the best thing you could do for me is to do you. And to something, I'm going to bring this dude back up. Let's bring him back up here. What's up, Phil? For the dads who are insecure, if you're in a position where you're like, I don't know how to lead, or, I'm uncomfortable with me and my aesthetic as a man, Phil, that's literally what he does. If you see his first comment, still in a meeting. He's in a meeting right now, helping men find that gift within of physical strength, of confidence, of fixing their hormones, of getting themselves squared away. If you're a dad and you're like, man, I just can't, I'm always tired. I can't keep up with these kids. I don't have the energy I used to have. I can't do it anymore. I don't have that pride. Phil is the man to get you back. That is somebody that will put you in a position where you're like, hey, the energy levels come back. Then all of a sudden the body starts coming back, and then how could you not be more confident or motivated to show off your new abilities? Now you're going to run around with the kids. You're going to climb in the monkey bars. These little things you can do. Or when your teenagers are lifting weights and you're able to lift weights and keep up with them, how could you not have a tight relationship? You can literally do so much more. So if you go to philfosterfitness.com, you'll be able to access this man. That's my personal trainer right there. So I'm coming at this from experience. Like, this is the dude I'm trusting with my body insides out on becoming the best version of me that I can be. So if you're looking to do that, And we were speaking about this a little earlier. If you're looking to connect with your children and give that presence, you want to give off the proper presence. So you've got to build it. You've got to remove the static from your life and just find that signal and focus on it. And then you can be the dad your kids need. And then you can be the dad other kids need. You can be the dad the community needs. You can be the dad who gets the best from other dads. What a world that would be, with all these dads rising up and getting better, getting jacked, getting just focused on like, hey, I'm not just going to be a dad. I'm going to be a father. I'm going to raise these kids instead of just exist with them.
It's happening, brother. It is happening. Men like you, men like Phil, we're making it happen.
I used all my juice in that last rant, man.
I see that. That's okay.
I was hoping you. All right, I'm going to give the last call for questions. If you got a question, last call, throw it out there. Nothing's off limits. So it's 9:31. If you've tuned in this long, appreciate it. Make sure you've liked and subscribed. Check out the channel. We've got a bunch of videos coming out that are going to be awesome. On Monday, we're dropping a video with Lilia Schott from liliaschott.com. That was an awesome discussion. I'm really pumped to see that one go out. This Friday, we've got our next video dropping. Today is Wednesday. So earlier today, we dropped the military video. So just check the video library out. You'll find all of our content there. But again, nobody's asking any questions.
Bro.
No. So we just roll with it, man. Look, to all those who commented, thank you. For those who tuned in, thank you. Anthony, brother, again, another one in the books. I look forward to dropping the next video on Friday. And again, if you have questions or if you have something specific you want covered, drop it in the comments or shoot us a DM. I'm at @ZachSmall_. Anthony is at Peaceful Fathers. That's on Twitter and Instagram. So check those out. Shoot us a DM. We won't include your name. We'll just address the question. Normally, that's what we do. But in the past month, we've answered all the questions that we've been asked this far. So if you've got them, ask them, and we'll knock them out.
Give us some tough questions.
Yeah, bring it. All right. You guys stay well. Get after it. Keep being involved and present parents. That's the best present you can give your children. Anthony, stay strong, brother. I'll be seeing you soon.
All right.